How is this possible?
I'll be damned if I know. Maybe we're related.
Then why would you spend all this time terrorising me?
You idiot, I was trying to protect you!
From what? Yourself?
No, lad. I didn't want to see you end up like me.
And what are you like?
Trapped. I have unfinished business here.
What kind of unfinished business?
My grandfather married into wealth, ended up with a lot of land in the Yorkshire area. Called himself the Baron of Hull. Problem was, he didn't know what he actually owned, so he ordered a survey. He offered a big cash prize to the first person who could document all of Yorkshire. But no one could do it. Yorkshire were just too big. And then I came along. I wanted to prove myself to the family, so I started my Yorkshire survey. I went town to town, recording everything I saw. At first it was great, but things started to go downhill. My grandfather vanished, my map stopped working, and the weather went mad. A year into it, I was conscripted for the war, and when I got back, it was the Spanish flu pandemic. Tragedy after tragedy, I kept going. I continued my survey. I only had one town left. I was so close. But then the blizzard came. It shouldn't have snowed that time of year, but it did anyway. I wasn't prepared. There were nothing around. I huddled under a tree for shelter. Stashed my journal somewhere safe. But I didn't live to see the morning. So you see, lad, it's happening again. Freak weather, pandemics, it's Yorkshire's doing. It doesn't want to be seen by just one person.
I don't get it. If all this is true, then why didn't you just try and warn me? Why go through this Scooby-Doo scheme to scare me away?
If a friendly ghost turned up to start warning you about the wrath of Yorkshire, do you think you'd be more or less likely to stop making videos?
You could have tried to warn me.
Look, lad, I've said all I've got to say. Stop the series, finish the series, I don't give a damn anymore. I'm done. You won't be seeing me again.
Now what?
Hi, I'm Stuart Morris. I'm cycling to every large town near me in order of ascending distance and rating them, with the end goal of reaching Flamborough. This is York Review. So, for those of you who are still with us, today we're going to the city of Bradford. Now, due to time restraints, I've had to become a bit less picky on the days I actually do these cycles. So it was on a grim grey morning that I set out westwards.
Interesting points about today, it's actually the day after the heat wave. So even though it's miserable and it's even raining a little bit, it's not actually that cold. This route is basically the Leeds route, and if I remember episode 17 correctly, there was a lot of busy roads. So I'm enjoying this nice little country road while it lasts, because I know it won't be long before I'm competing with traffic on some pretty nasty city roads.
Even though I knew it was coming, my path still ran out a bit sooner than I would have liked. I'd forgotten how sketchy it felt to cycle along 50-mile-an-hour traffic. Should I even have been here?
Aha! I am the hazard! Haha! I'm allowed on this road. Hooray!
Things started to improve as I approached Barwick and Elmet and cycled around their impressive maypole. But instead of frolicking villagers, I saw something even better. A dedicated cycle path leading straight into the heart of Leeds. Protected cycle paths like these are quite rare in the Yorkshire area, and I was glad to see them here.
Look at that horizon. Wow, a big city.
But my enthusiasm was short-lived after I discovered what cycling through Leeds was actually like.
What does this sign mean? How am I supposed to be here? This place is a maze. I need my Leeds tour guide. How is every turn I make wrong?
Local cyclists might know the area well, but for me it was a gauntlet of greyed out cycle lanes, renegade buses, and construction nightmares. I was glad when the city spat me out onto a canal towpath, and shortly after I returned to cycle lane paradise.
By City Connect.
City Connect took me to the heart of Bradford, and the buskers heralded my glorious entrance. Bradford is a large Tier 3 city and forms one of the vertices of the Rhubarb Triangle. The Bradford.gov.uk website boasts of 4,000 listed buildings, including the steep streets of Little Germany, a fancy Gothic graveyard, and Saltaire, a model village which is regular-sized? I'm not the only one confused here, am I? Even the picture on the website thinks it's a tiny place. Imagine the disappointment of seeing that and then arriving here. Unsurprisingly, the rest of Bradford is also regular-sized, for a city, and the buildings have a cool Victorian vibe to them.
Bradford has been awarded the title of Curry Capital of Britain for 3 years in a row between 2011 and 2013, which is pretty big for the town. I'm now in the privileged position of going to try one of these curries myself. Now I really love Yorkshire, all the counties that make it up, but if there's one piece of criticism I can level against the whole Yorkshire and the Humber region, it's that it's really hard to get a good curry. And that better because Yorkshire and the Humber as a whole isn't a very ethnically diverse place. But Bradford is different.
Unlike some places I could name, Bradford actually did win Curry Capital of the UK for multiple years. I'm pretty sure the competition doesn't run anymore, but there's plenty of news coverage, and I also have video proof, presented by the official lady and a timid man.
We're going to be presenting Bradford with their Curry Capital of the Year trophy. So we'll take some footage up there and let you meet some of the restaurateurs and the council representatives.
Yeah, it's the 5th time Bradford have managed to win the trophy in succession, so it's quite an achievement.
In fact, 23% of the non-white British population, according to the census, lives here in Bradford. So I guess I shouldn't be too surprised if they're dominating the curry scene in the UK.
No, I'm not simply fudging the numbers here, the diversity of Bradford is impressive. From the most recent census, 26% of the non-white Yorkshire population live in Bradford, while only 6% of Yorkshire's white population live here. Many migrants from India and Pakistan settled in Bradford during the 50s and 60s, seeking jobs in factories and mills to help revitalise post-war Britain. Some even opened curry houses, starting a rich curry tradition which continues here to this day.
This place I'm in at the moment is actually really nice. I'm looking forward to this. The best part is, because I cycled here, this is justified.
After trying my hardest to talk about ethnicity without sounding like a racist, I decided to head to an attraction which was a little more my speed.
I can see the response to my Bradford episode being very similar to what I had in Doncaster. Probably going to get a lot of flack because I'm not going to cover everything, and I couldn't. Bradford is just far too big to see in one trip. So what I'll do instead is I'll take you to an attraction which I think everyone can agree is the main attraction of Bradford, and that is the Science and Media Museum. Which should be great for me, because when I'm not making videos, I'm doing science, and when I'm not doing science, I'm making videos. So, science and media, let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now perform the York Review theme.
Originally, this was simply the National Media Museum, but they ran out of money. So in 2017, they added the science part to get some juicy extra funding.
I'm liking this Science Museum a bit too much. I've just completely forgotten that I'm actually making a York review episode. Alright, hang on. I didn't even need to point the camera myself, I can point it anywhere. There we go, that's got me. Support each other, shall we? I am already lost. It turns out the sun did come out today after all. The only problem is, it turns out I've forgotten my sun cream and I have a lot of exposed flesh, so that needs to be addressed with immediately.
Having escaped the clutches of the mirror maze, and after dousing myself in shop-bought sun cream, I had just enough time left in the day for Bradford's quirkiest attraction.
One of the greatest claims to fame for Bradford is the water feature at the centre of City Park. It is absolutely massive. In fact, it's the largest fountain of its kind in the UK. I can't imagine how much pressure is on that thing. There you go, you can see it against the building now. It is so tall. Want to do something really stupid? Wow, I'm drenched. I'm so wet. I'm so cold. I'm the only wet person walking around Bradford. I'm absolutely ridiculous.
And as I stood there, dripping in a puddle of my own making, cold and shivering for no good reason, I decided I'd seen enough of Bradford for one day, and it was time to wrap things up.
Bradford is a fantastic city, and it's managed to do something that very few other cities have been able to do on York Review, and that's keep me entertained for the entire trip, even though I did just spend most of it in the Science Museum. The Science Museum was great, the fountain was brilliant, I'm still soaked, and there's even more left to see in Bradford. I didn't even get a chance to show you Little Germany. That's a little cluster of oldie-timey buildings just on the outskirts. It's probably fantastic. I just didn't get the chance to go see it. My only real criticism for Bradford is the lack of green space that you have here. There don't seem to be any giant parks like you had in Leeds. And so with all that in mind, I'm going to give Bradford a Yorkshire out of Yorkshire.